Welcome to Saga Sessions, a show where we explore, analyze, and discuss our favorite stories. Today's Saga Session is going to be a little bit different. I have with me Nick from our Indiana Jones series, and he is here to lead a discussion on the use of the app Letterboxd.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you back on the show and to hear your thoughts on, again, Letterboxd. I know you are a big fan of the platform, and I assume you have a lot to say about it. This episode was actually your idea, so I kind of want you to take the reins on this and share your thoughts. Educate me on Letterboxd. Absolutely.
Yeah, we were texting about a movie the other day, and I just was on Letterboxd, and I put a lot of time into my Letterboxd, at least, and I was texting you about a Billy Wilder film and kind of looking it up, and I said to myself, I was like, why not just try and get, maybe discuss a little bit about the app, because I have so much fun with it, and I know there's a big following in the last few years of it.
Right.
And so I think it would be just fun to kind of break it down.
Absolutely. To someone like me who has Letterboxd but doesn't necessarily utilize it to the fullest, the thing that stands out the most to me about the platform, the app, is that you can list, I believe, your top 4 favorite films at the top of your profile.
Yeah, it's your top 4, and you can change them anytime you want, things like that.
Do we want to start off by sharing what our top 4 favorite films of all time
I would love to hear your top 4.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have my app in front of me, but I believe this is what I have listed. Number 1, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Now, I have to say, if I could lump the first 3, I say first 3 because there are technically 6 Middle-earth films, including the Hobbit trilogy, but just focusing on the Lord of the Rings trilogy. If I could lump the Lord of the Rings trilogy into one film, that would be number 1, but because I have to pick one, we're going with The Return of the King. So that's my first favorite film. My second favorite film is The Shawshank Redemption. My third favorite film is Robert Eggers' The Northman. And my fourth favorite film, this one kind of goes back and forth with a few other, choices, but on Letterboxd, it is listed as Dances with Wolves. So, yeah, on Letterboxd, those are my top classic. 4. A classic from Kevin Costner, yes. Fantastic film. Love it.
The film that some say snubbed Goodfellas of its Best Picture.
Oh, Dances with Wolves won Best Picture?
Yeah, 1991 Academy Awards.
Did Kevin Costner win Best Director?
I believe he did, yes. And he won because he produced the film as well, so he got 2 Oscars that night.
Nice. Okay, Nick, what are your top 4 favorite films on Letterboxd?
My top 4 I've kept consistent for a very long time. Number 1, and this is my number 1 pretty much of, I can guarantee, is the Joel and Ethan Coen film from 2007, No Country for Old Men. I've seen that movie a good number of times over. It's just a very intellectual watch. It's a very interesting deconstruction of the Western genre, and I will always forever love the film.
And the first time I ever watched that film was with you.
That's right.
We watched it together, and I was very impressed.
Yeah, it's Roger Deakins' cinematography is gorgeous. The writing from the book, the Cormac McCarthy book, and translated to the Coen brothers is remarkable as well. Actually, I saw a funny story the other day that the audition tape that Josh Brolin did for that movie, do you know who directed it and lit it?
No.
Quentin Tarantino directed the audition tape, and Robert Rodriguez lit the shot for the editing.
For the audition tape.
Because that was when they were working on Planet Terror and Death Proof for the Grindhouse double feature.
Oh, okay.
And I think the Coens were looking for casting, and they asked Josh, and he goes, "Yeah, let's do it," and then Tarantino wants to direct it, which is very funny. And turns out as great as it does.
That's awesome.
My number 2 is Quentin Tarantino. Speaking of him, his 2019 film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I love that film. A lot of my friends, some of whom have been on Saga Sessions, will probably cringe at that, but I love that film.
Yeah, I know it's not considered the more popular choice of his movies. I just love it because it dives so deep into the history of 60s and 70s cinema. Obviously, it takes place in 69, but it expands through characters who were, or in the movie, would have been alive, like DiCaprio and Brad Pitt's character were through the 70s. And I think it's just one of the greatest production designed films. I think it's one of the best scripts. I think it's very passionate to Hollywood, which I love old fashioned style Hollywood. So it's just everything I want. And I actually just got, there's a new coffee table book about it. I don't know if you heard about this.
No, I have not.
And it's really a great look through, and it's just photos from the film and interviews and kind of the process of what they did to make it. And I got that recently, and it was really an excellent book. Plus, he also wrote the novel as well.
Right. How do you feel about the upcoming sequel from, is it David Fincher?
David Fincher's directing it. Tarantino's writing it.
Starring Brad Pitt?
I am right there, front row seat. It is a Netflix movie.
Okay.
Which of recent events, Netflix seems to have the rights to a lot of movies.
Correct, yes.
But yes, I am very excited. I've been seeing kind of stills from the sets and how it's looking, and looks like it's going to be set in, I think 77 is what they were saying, maybe 78, 79. And so I think that's going to be a great adventure through that.
Just on the spot right now, I had a thought. If it is indeed set in 77 and, the movie kind of follows its predecessor's archetype, if you will, of Hollywood. I don't know if I'm describing this right, but just basically, it would be fascinating if the movie tackled the popularity of, or the emergence of Star Wars in Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, that could very, very much be a real situation in that movie.
Because 1977, due to Star Wars, Hollywood was changed forever.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a great year. Back to the top 4, my number 3 would be, and I think this equates a little bit to my dad's love for the film, but the 1975 classic blockbuster by Steven Spielberg, Jaws.
I believe you revealed this to be your 3rd favorite film of all time in definitely one of the Indiana Jones videos. I think it was our Raiders of the Lost Ark review and breakdown. So cool that it gets to be brought up again now. Yeah, actually, and brought up in a little bit more depth. Yeah.
Yeah. I cite that movie as it was definitely something shown to me when I was young, and I just connected so much with the characters. The spectacle of the movie is incredible itself, but the character building with the 3 men hunting a shark is so good. And I've cited in my Letterboxd reviews, Quint is my favorite fictional character, and the sequence where he's discussing the Indianapolis is my favorite, one of my favorite sequences ever made. Where they're discussing his past of why he hunts sharks.
I do love, I shouldn't say love, I've only seen the film twice, but I've thoroughly enjoyed the film both times I've seen it. In fact, the first time I watched it, I was probably about 9 or 10 years ago, and I had never seen it. A friend of mine was like, hey, we got to watch this. I watched it. Really enjoyed it, but I am terrified of sharks. I've always been very scared of sharks. So watching it is a very scary experience for me.
So here's
visuals.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
What I have noticed from people that either I work with or I talk about the movie with, a younger generation does not connect with this film. And I've heard a lot of people say it's just a bad movie, which is obviously just not true. It's a very well structured and well written story, but it's also just a masterful piece of ingenuity to cinema, right? The shark itself and the way that they filmed underwater and everything.
Absolutely.
What my question is because you only watched it for the first time 10 years ago, do you think it still is effective and holds up after, it's been 50 years now? We just had the 50-year anniversary.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say most definitely. One of the objectives of the film, I believe, is to scare you. That still works, at least for me.
Sure.
Because, again, I'm scared of sharks. But even if I wasn't afraid of sharks, the scene, I want to say in the very beginning of the film, and I'm sorry, spoilers for Jaws, which has been around for whatever you said,
50 years. Yep. So just had their 50 years.
The opening scene where the young woman is taken by the shark.
Yep.
I don't believe you see the shark.
You do not.
It's terrifying, nevertheless.
Yeah, and again, that was all because of the design of the shark itself,
right.
How it wasn't working and everything like that. This movie, I will say, has had a pretty good longevity. Robert Shaw, who played Quint in the film, his son actually did a stage play called The Sharks. I think it's called The Shark's Not Working or The Shark's Still Not Working, where he plays his dad, and it's about behind the scenes of filming the movie.
Okay.
And there's reference to that. Obviously, we just had the 50-year anniversary where they re-released it in theaters, and I had a great moment where I got to go see that with my dad in theaters.
Awesome.
And that was so much fun to see it with him. It's his favorite movie as well.
Nice.
I remember I was at work and I get called over and there's this person, there's this couple there, and they're wearing like the Jaws 50-year anniversary, and the people I was working with called me over because they said, we work with this guy who loves the movie, and we just started chit-chatting about it, and they gave me a handmade Jaws bracelet.
Really?
Which was really fun.
Awesome.
So the movie still resonates today, even though maybe some younger audience doesn't connect with it as much. I think it still has longevity, and I think it still really holds up over time.
Before you move on to, I guess, your fourth favorite film, I would like to kind of piggyback off of what you just said about the younger generation today not either not enjoying a film or not watching a film. And for me, as I've already expressed in this recording, my favorite film is The Return of the King. If I could pick all three Lord of the Rings films as one film, they'd be my favorite film of all time. I work with a lot of young people who are probably about 10 years younger than me or more. They have not seen The Lord of the Rings. The younger generation is not watching Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. How does that make you feel, Nick, as a lover of cinema?
I think a lot of it has to do with the duration of the film, how long it runs.
Okay.
Some might cite the pacing because it is an adventure film, though it is not an Indiana Jones style adventure film.
Okay.
It's not an action sequence after action sequence. The film takes time to build characters. The film takes time to set up sequences and actually build into the story versus just giving us action every second. It's a little tougher to keep an audience's attention today than it was when those movies were made, most likely. And that's probably why someone sees a 3-hour runtime and they say, yeah, I don't want to go watch that. I certainly don't want to see it in theaters.
Yeah.
I have people at work who say, what did I just watch? I just rewatched a bunch of Scorsese movies, and The Irishman is one of my favorites of his, and it's 3.5 hours long.
I could not make it through that whole movie.
See,
when it came out.
I actually was so excited when it came out that I went to a theater to see it because there was limited releases, and I actually got an opportunity to see it. And I've probably seen it half a dozen times by this point. And that's an example of, it's a slower paced film. I watched it with my cousin last year. I showed it to him, and
This is The Irishman?
The Irishman, and
Okay.
it's like he says it's way too long, and there's just too much nothing going on and everything, which is probably the same thing that people are thinking for Lord of the Rings, which isn't accurate, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it is interesting, but I mean, you know, we can't judge what people want to watch, how they watch their movies, you know?
This is true. I just feel bad for them because I feel like they're missing out on just some great cinema. And sometimes I wonder, and we'll jump back to your fourth favorite film in just a moment, but sometimes I also wonder if the fact that the Hobbit trilogy didn't do very well, I mean, it did great financially, but critically didn't do too great. And then, of course, you know, today we have the Amazon Prime show, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, which is heavily criticized by fans of Middle-earth. I like it. I've done a couple of videos on it.
Mhm.
I know I'm in the minority, but I wonder if the lack of success for those two projects maybe have led to the, I don't know, the lack of viewership lately for the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But who knows? It's a possibility.
Yeah, it could be. You really have so many factors when it comes to a movie of the scale that Lord of the Rings is. There's just so many moving factors to it.
But back to Letterboxd. Sorry for the rabbit hole.
That's what I love, is being able to go down rabbit holes and talking about just different movies, and that's partially why I wanted to have this conversation.
Right? Yeah.
Was to go down these rabbit holes and talk about movies that we both love that
Mhm.
maybe we won't get the opportunity to make a full, you know, breakdown video of. You know,
Sure.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
that was part of the reason. What I will say, one more thing about Jaws is,
Sure.
Though it is not my number one movie, I would probably argue that it is my most watched movie. It is probably
Okay.
the movie I've seen the most. There's opportunities that I own a couple different. I own a VHS copy of it. I own a Blu-ray. I think I own a DVD, and I don't know if I own a 4K of it or not, or if it was. Yeah, no, I guess I don't. But I'll sometimes, if I'm kind of like, maybe I don't have the bug to watch a full movie that I haven't seen yet, I'll put on Jaws and I'll put on a couple different scenes, and then I end up just watching the whole thing. It's
Yeah.
still just so captivating to me. You know, maybe I say, all right, I want to put on this sequence with Quint, and then I'm like, oh well, he's in the next one and he's doing this, or Roy Scheider is firing a pistol at a shark and this, that, and the other. It's just, it is the one that I will always probably come back to and just revisit over and over and over. So it is probably my most watched. So going back to the top four, my number 4 film is Charles Laughton's The Night of the Hunter from 1955.
Another great film.
I remember it's probably been 5 years since I first saw it, and I've probably seen it maybe half a dozen times. Watched it with you, actually. I showed it to you.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think it is one of the coolest examples of black and white cinematography. I think it's very well articulated how the story's written,
Right.
and how ahead of its time it was, right? We talked about this, where there was no movies of this kind of maybe dark story style, though there were film noirs coming out, and there was a lot of dark things coming out of, Humphrey Bogart films and other Robert Mitchum films. This seemed to have a little bit of a darker tonality to it, right?
Absolutely.
Because it involved a grown man trying to go after these kids
Sure.
who have some money. Which I also just found out the other day. Peter Graves, do you know who that is?
No.
He some people probably know him from Airplane. He's the captain in Airplane, but he's from the original Mission Impossible show.
Okay.
He's the star of the.
Okay.
I had never realized when I had seen the movies, the dad of the kids in this movie, who's only in it at the beginning, is Peter Graves, and I thought that was kind of
Oh,
funny.
okay. Very cool.
But yeah, I actually got the opportunity to see it in theaters last week.
I remember you texting me about
Uh-huh.
this. Now, to be clear, this is last week from when we are recording this.
Yeah.
This might be published quite a few weeks or months from
Yeah.
the actual recording. But yeah, I remember you letting me know about that, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool! That's that's awesome."
It was the local cinema hall down the road from me who was doing it, and they had like a film club thing, and I had never been to one, and this is obviously one of my favorite movies, so I decided to go. Theater was packed.
That's great.
It was completely full, which was amazing to see. It gave me hope in the longevity of these older movies, right?
Right.
And just every shot in that movie is perfect. Every single shot.
I remember when you and I were breaking down and reviewing Raiders. I think it was Raiders of the Lost Ark, and we got to the part where I mentioned that the shot of Indiana Jones,
with everyone digging on the
with
hill.
everyone digging on the hillside or whatever, and he's putting on his hat. That silhouette shot, I brought that up. I said that was my favorite shot in the Indiana Jones franchise, and you mentioned how you felt that shot took inspiration from a similar shot in The Night of the Hunter.
Yeah.
And that was actually my first introduction to that film, because at the time that we recorded the Raiders of the Lost Ark review and breakdown, I had not seen the film. So when you brought that up, I did some research into the film, and you and I decided, hey, let's watch this together. And yeah, fantastic film, great cinematography. I can definitely see how some more modern films paid homage to the cinematography of the film, in particular that one scene that is, mentioned in our review of Robert Mitchum riding across the
and he's
the landscape.
Yep, and he's singing, and the
yes,
the kid wakes up and he's just like, "Don't he ever sleep?"
Yeah,
it's a great line. Actually, I realized on my rewatch in theaters, and I will say a lot of this comes with sitting in a full theater with people, and everybody was laughing during sequences. And
interesting.
And I wrote about this in my review on Letterboxd. I said, though the movie has a lot of dark tones to it, it is still a lighter. There's lighter comedy in it that actually breaks tension, and I think that typically I would find that not to be beneficial to a movie, especially if it's a movie of this kind of, it's trying to go for this tone of a darker theme and everything, but it actually seemingly works.
Okay.
And again, people might go and watch this movie and say it's not all that great because the child actors in 1955 didn't express something that they wanted. Sure. Some of the comedy comes from how the kids react and how a little bit off the acting is, or even just some of the townsfolk. But the real root of that whole movie is about its visual appeal. It's about its progressive story in film noir, and just everything around it is really, really a well-made movie. So I was very excited to see it again. And yeah, that's been on my top 4 for quite a long time.
I have a question for you about Night of the Hunter, and it has to do with its director, Charles Laughton, who is much more well-known, or much better known for his career as an actor than a director. But this was the only film he ever directed, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think when the movie came out, it wasn't appreciated.
Okay.
I think nobody, like, the critics kind of panned it, and I don't know what the box office was for it back then in the 50s. But it just seemed to not get any traction. I think Laughton just said, I'm not doing this.
Fair enough.
Now, I did just watch a film that you recommended to me, called Witness for the Prosecution from 1957.
Great film.
It's written and directed by one of the film noir essentials of the 50s and 60s and even into the 70s a little bit, Billy Wilder. But the star of the movie is Charles Laughton.
Yes.
And this movie came out 2 years after Night of the Hunter, so he clearly was still working after the quote-unquote failure of Night of the Hunter. But he just decided he didn't want to direct anymore. I think he just did one take and one movie, and that was it. I also didn't realize I guess I never really thought about what his age was when he made The Night of the Hunter, but in Witness for the Prosecution, he is significantly older than I expected him around that time. So he also was probably just didn't want to pick up a whole new career of directing by that point in his life.
Well, history has looked kindly on his only piece of directorial work.
Yeah. It is one of the greats for sure. And if you get an opportunity to, it really is worth seeing in theaters, at home, whatever it may be. You will see how great the music of that film is.
Yeah, I loved it. I really, really enjoyed watching that film.
Now, you and I have gone in depth a little bit about, we both like 50s film noir, 40s film noir, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and I know that we watched The Treasures of Sierra Madre, the John Huston film.
We did watch that together.
That's an excellent piece too. That's some of Humphrey Bogart's better work too. Although I will say, I know he's kind of seen now as a little bit more of a stoic and not as energetic actor. No, maybe that's not the right terminology. He's more of his character in every movie.
Yeah, when people think of Humphrey Bogart, they think of Casablanca,
yes, of
right?
Course.
Yeah.
I will say there are some movies that he is really great in. So The African Queen is obviously a big example of that.
That is also a great film with Katharine Hepburn.
Hepburn,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is excellent. He's really good in that. But again, you can kind of see he's playing himself a little bit of an uptight, kind of rough and tough guy who, smokes 3 packs of cigarettes a day and
right.
Drinks liquor in the morning, right? But there is a movie, and I want to say it's called To Have or To Have Not. I think that's the one I'm thinking of. And he is phenomenal in it. It is a movie that he plays a different character, and he has a little bit more depth than you might know of him.
Okay.
A lot of those actors back then were really focused on being a vessel for a good story, and we were just throwing in Kirk Douglas into the movie, right?
Sure.
Although Kirk Douglas is probably a bad example because he was a little bit more dynamic than the other guys. But you know what I'm saying with that is
absolutely. Yeah.
So getting to see Bogart do that was really kind of cool to see him kind of bend his character some.
It's funny you brought that up about Humphrey Bogart, and we will get back to the Letterboxd aspect of this conversation very soon. But I quite frequently have conversations with my family about primarily 2 actors who I think, similar to what you were saying about Humphrey Bogart, with the exception of the film, which title I just forgot. But there are 2 actors, 2 very well-known actors, who kind of play the same character in every film, but you enjoy it because you watch those films because you want to see those actors play themselves. And those 2 actors, to me, are Charlton Heston and Harrison Ford. It's part of the charm. And when I say, they play the same character every time, that's not meant to be an insult. That's not meant to be a critique. It's just how they go about.
They're playing their movie star persona.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Obviously, Charlton Heston delivered, in my opinion, one of the best performances that I've ever seen in the film Ben-Hur, which won him the Oscar for Best Actor. I believe Harrison Ford, obviously famous actor for playing Han Solo in Star Wars, and of course, Nick's favorite franchise
Adventure
character,
series, yeah.
Indiana Jones. So, I mean, despite the fact that I think neither of them are terribly dynamic, they knock it out of the park, or have knocked it out of the park on many occasions.
So I would say Charlton Heston for sure has he's often playing himself.
Right.
You watch the 1968 film The Omega. Oh no, I'm sorry, 1971 film The Omega Man.
Sure.
Or Soylent Green.
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes. He's playing the same role,
Sure.
which fits those movies a lot. He's just again thrown into a different story. Harrison Ford is that. However, he's proven he can jump out of it from time to time. There's the Robert Zemeckis film where Harrison Ford co-stars with Michelle Pfeiffer called What Lies Beneath. That is a very different performance of his.
Okay, I've not seen that one.
And I won't explain why it's a different performance because it is a lot of what that movie is about. Like it's
Okay.
a little bit of a spoiler if I go into why
Sure.
it's like that. Or I know I mentioned, I think in the Last Crusade podcast, he did a movie called The Mosquito Coast.
Yes, with River Phoenix.
Yes,
right?
with River Phoenix and Helen Mirren. And that movie, he's also playing something different.
Okay.
He's a little bit more frantic. He's not as collected to himself. He's kind of pompous in the movie, but he's playing like a mad scientist kind of guy who's bringing ice to the jungle. So it's cool to see these actors try and step out of it. But of course, we do love Harrison Ford being Harrison Ford.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Back to Letterboxd.
Yeah.
Okay. What's next on the Letterboxd agenda?
Yeah. Like I was saying when we started, I utilize Letterboxd a lot for my own personal knowledge of films,
Mhm.
right? So I like to explore through that and IMDb. IMDb is obviously a great tool as well, to kind of give you insight of, who's making movies and, different stories in there. Letterboxd I like more because it's a little bit more interactive. Or
Right.
It's a lot more interactive because you can pretty much write a review, say you watch this and that, and whoever's following you can comment on it, can like it, can dislike your commentary on it, and let you know in the comments. And I just find it to be so much fun. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because it's a fun thing to be a part of. I think it's kind of a community.
Yeah.
I got the app, I think, in 2021. And I probably wrote 15 one-sentence reviews for different Nicolas Cage movies. I wrote them for just, I think one of them, I was trying to be funny about everything I was writing. And so I would write a review for, I can't even remember. It was like the randomest deep cuts of his movies, like Left Behind, where he's like a pilot, where he's a pilot and everybody, the rapture happens or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember one that I reviewed was the Abel Ferrara film from, I want to say 92, starring Harvey Keitel, called Bad Lieutenant. And I gave it half a star and I said, did not watch this. There's no Nicolas Cage in it, because he was in a quasi remake of the film made by Werner Herzog years later. I have watched Bad Lieutenant. That is a great movie, though.
Did you happen to review the Nicolas Cage Wicker Man movie?
I probably did. I can't remember everything I put in there. I thought that movie was so funny.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be funny, but I recently watched it for the first time. Big fan of the original Wicker Man, but I watched the Nicolas Cage version recently, the unrated cut. And yeah, it's not supposed to be funny, but I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah. But the app Letterboxd is really cool in general, and it could be you have one person you're following, or it could be 100 people you're following. When you open up the app, it'll give you kind of a breakdown of a couple different things. It's the top is popular this week on Letterboxd.
Okay.
It's pretty much like the movies that are getting watched and reviewed the most. And then, so the middle bar is on the homepage is what are the immediate movies that were just reviewed by people you follow, right? So,
right.
It'll show up, and as more movies are getting reviewed by the people you're following, they just keep getting pushed over and over, and you can pretty much go through you can go through a lot in there. And then the bottom is popular with your friends, so it's just like if you and a group of your buddies watch Night of the Hunter, and you all put it on Letterboxd, and there's, that might not show up on the popular of the entirety of Letterboxd, but it'll show up in popular of your friends.
Right now, I think the most popular movie that I saw on the app among my friends is Wicked for Good. I think I would give that film half a star if I rated it, but that's beside the point. But that at the time of recording this, that is the most popular one among my friends. This might be different by the time the video is published on YouTube, but yeah, I just felt like I had to make a little jab at Wicked for Good.
I also saw Wicked for Good, and I'll hold court about my opinions on that later.
Actually, while we're here, can I just give a one-sentence review of Wicked for Good?
Please do.
Let me preface it by saying I thought Wicked, the first one, was fine. It was fine. I would say, generously, I would say slightly above average. I enjoyed the music, the vocals, the performances were good, the story was meh. But my review for Wicked for Good, I've been looking for an opportunity to say this somewhere, so why not say it now? If Wicked was a rising souffle, someone slammed the oven door before part 2 started.
That good, huh?
That's my opinion. That's my review of Wicked for Good.
I think it's honestly just nonsensical. The Golden Globe nominations just happened recently, and I want to say it wasn't even nominated for Best Musical or Comedy.
Cynthia Erivo did get a nomination,
did
though,
she?
I think. And if she did, I would argue that is well-deserved. I thought her vocal performance was exceptional. But I just did not like the movie one bit. But anyways, I've been looking for an opportunity to give my review, and I didn't think I'd be doing a Wicked video on this channel anytime soon, so I thought I'd throw it in right there. So
there you go.
Cool.
Yeah, that movie time will tell really what people think of that movie. I watch it, and I wrote a review about it on there as well. Not ideal for me to have to sit through that, but
what did you give it in terms of stars?
I think I gave the first one a 2.5.
Okay.
And the second one 2.
2?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if people, again, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to judge people who like the movie. It's not my type of movie that I typically go after.
Sure. If you enjoyed it, more power to you.
Yeah. I'm not generally a huge fan of musicals. There are a few that I do like. I was talking to someone recently about it because of Wicked.
And
I said a few musicals I really like that I think people should go see or should get the opportunity to see is Bob Fosse's Cabaret from 1972.
With Liza Minnelli? Yes.
And another Bob Fosse movie, which I think is one of the better 70s movies, is All That Jazz. Have you seen this?
I've heard of it. I've not seen it.
I love this movie, and it has a musical number at the end of the film that I think runs for like 13, 14 minutes, and it is just fantastic. I
have a musical that that I would recommend to you, and it's funny because when Nick arrived at my studio today to record this, my mother happened to be around, and we were just all talking about movies because my mom is a big fan of classic film, and she and I both agree Nick should watch Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. One of my personal favorite musicals. Great film.
Yeah, I have that on my list now to watch.
Yeah. I think you would like it.
I do like a lot of the old classic musicals, right?
Sure.
Wizard of Oz. After I watched Wicked for good, I went back and rewatched Wizard of Oz.
Right.
And it's still fantastic. It's still a lot of fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And then Singing in the Rain, I appreciate a lot.
Classic.
Just different old classics that are, they're fun. They're not. Sound of Music is something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just not, the modern day musical is not necessarily what I seek out. Although Damien Chazelle's La La Land, I think is a good movie.
Oh, that's a very controversial film in my household.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. But.
Yeah. I know that there's detractors from it, but I think there's so much talent from Damien Chazelle that it's tough to really have that movie be considered bad because he's got so much talent behind the camera.
Right.
That I think it does work, and it's a pretty good spectacle. But yeah, so going on with how Letterboxd kind of goes, you can write anything you want on there. And again, you can also just say you watched a movie. But
yeah, that's what one of my friends does, where they'll mark a film as watched. They'll give it, X amount of stars out of 5, but they won't write a review.
Mm-hmm.
But that way, they just keep a log of what they've seen, and that way their friends like me can see what they've seen and what they or how they rate the film.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I, on the other hand, like to kind of go in depth on what I'm talking about with the movies.
Absolutely.
Like I said earlier, I used to write like 1-sentence reviews for Nicolas Cage movies just as a goof. And it was all the obscure, stupid ones. And then I ended up just deleting all of them a couple years later. This was 2021. I think in 2023, I deleted those joke ones, and then I just started writing like one paragraph for whatever movie I watched. And I think the first movie I did this for was M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin.
Okay.
I think that was the first movie that when I really started writing about, when I started writing down a little bit more thoughtful topics about the movie, that was the first one, just by chance. Not very good, by the way.
Yeah, a lot of his movies are they're really just hit or miss, aren't they?
Stylistically kind of cool. I actually kind of liked Trap too, even though I think there's a lot of story elements that don't work.
Didn't this guy do the original live action Last Airbender?
Yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Remarkable stuff.
Has I think one of the lowest Rotten Tomatoes scores I've ever seen.
Yeah. I don't even know if I've seen the entire thing all the way through. I never grew up with Avatar in the house, so
sure.
I didn't really know.
Neither did I. I in fact watched the entire animated series, all 3 seasons, or books as they're referred to. I watched them just later last year, and phenomenal. I think they are. It's something somebody at any age could watch and enjoy. So definitely recommend them.
Yeah, I've heard they're good. So I started pretty much just like writing like 1 paragraph reviews. Sometimes they even got shorter than that, just because I wasn't really thinking too much about it. What ended up happening was, because I used to always love to write, and I like to write I try and write lengthier, in-depth ideas, or not necessarily intellectually, but just for fun.
Sure.
And so I started expanding that a little bit and started turning it into a few paragraphs a movie. And then I think when I went to go see Barbie and Oppenheimer, that was when I really started. I loved Oppenheimer so much that I wanted to write more about it. Right. And so that turned into like 5 or 6 paragraphs. Right. They were short paragraphs, but they were, it was lengthier, and same with Barbie. And that was July of 23. And so since then, I pretty much will range any of my reviews from 5 to, I think, 10, 11, 12 paragraphs. Depending on how much I want to say about a movie. It helps me kind of think about the movies I'm watching, right?
Right.
It makes it worth a little bit more for me. And you know what? I'm not saying that that's how everybody should do it. It's just what works for me.
Right.
I'll I'll jot down kind of just thoughts I have, and then I'll put it on my notepad on my phone and just say, oh, I just watched Jay Kelly. I want to talk about this point, this point, and this point. And then typically I'll go and I'll talk about, I try and talk about the ideas of the movie mixed with the craftsmanship of the movie, right? How a film looks, how a film feels.
Sure.
And then just a little bit more of the matter of fact of the actors and directors, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's not the craziest thing in the world. It's a lot of, I think, a little bit of just nonsensical writing that I just kind of come up with on the spot. But I do enjoy it for sure. And again, it just helps me really process what movies I just watched. When did you get Letterboxd?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I got it. So my friend Robert, who also has been on Saga Sessions a couple of times, he told me about Letterboxd. I want to say the evening after he and I saw Oppenheimer in theaters. Also, I love how this conversation opens the door to so many side quests right now, because little rabbit hole. I remember watching Oppenheimer with Robert in the theaters, turning to him as soon as the credits rolled and saying, Robert Downey Jr. will win an Oscar for this film. And I was right.
That's right.
And then, bold prediction right now, based on a very limited sample size.
He's going to win an Oscar for Dr. Doom?
No. This has to do with Christopher Nolan. From the teaser for The Odyssey, just the teaser, at the time of recording this video, the trailer is not out. It might be out by the time the video comes out, but I've only seen the teaser right now. Another bold prediction. I think John Bernthal will win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for The Odyssey. Just
interesting.
Throwing that
That's a
out
big
there.
cast, too.
But anyways, I've taken us down another rabbit hole, and now I need you to pull us back out again.
We were moving along with kind of writing and how Oppenheimer was one of the first movies that I really dove into to start doing that.
And then you asked me when I first got Letterboxd.
Yes.
And I believe I got it right after I saw
you saw Oppenheimer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you do the Barbenheimer?
No.
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 Okay.
I was like, I only feel like seeing one of these films right now. Oppenheimer's more appealing to me. I did watch Barbie much later on HBO Max at home, or I guess at the time it was just called Max. I have thoughts on Barbie.
Yeah.
Great admiration for Greta Gerwig as a filmmaker. Loved her Little Women adaptation. I have thoughts about the upcoming Narnia, the Magician's Nephew film. Not going to share them right now. But yeah, I did see Barbie. I liked Oppenheimer more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greta Gerwig, funny enough, my real delve into her films is Lady Bird. I haven't seen Little Women. But Lady Bird was a big one, and then Barbie was the other one. I just watched last night Frances Ha. Do you know this film?
No.
It's Noah Baumbach's 2012 film, and it's about this woman who is kind of going through New York. She's very lighthearted and playful as a character, but she's also kind of a klutz when she's moving around the city and how she reacts, and emotionally she's a klutz with her friends. But it's such a great story, and it's so well performed, and the woman is Greta Gerwig. Obviously they've known each other for a long time, Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach.
And they are now married?
They are married. I think they got married in 2023.
Okay.
Noah Baumbach was recently married to Jennifer Jason Leigh, I believe, right? But yeah, so they've collaborated a lot. Noah Baumbach actually, I think, has a writing credit on Barbie as well.
Okay.
But yeah, so like the mindset that I've had about Greta Gerwig through Barbie and Lady Bird is really a different perspective now. I mean, I saw her in other movies. I just watched Jay Kelly, like I said, and she has a small part in there. Same with White Noise, the 2022, I think, 21, 22. I think it's 22. Noah Baumbach film as well. But this was the first movie that I've seen of her where she's in almost every shot. It's her movie.
Oh, wow.
And she is so good. She is so great in this movie. And I really have a great appreciation for the film. But yeah, reining it back to Letterboxd, and I feel like what we're moving on to, I'm going to definitely go on a few tangents here.
Okay.
Is I love to do the reviews, but I also love to make lists on Letterboxd. So you can make lists, right? And whether that's my top 30 movies from 1977 or every movie I watched of this person, ranking them, right?
I had no idea you could do that.
Yeah, so
on Letterboxd.
So I've made some lists, just depending. So like I'll name them their own things, and kind of you can either number them, which is like if you want to make them in a like the order they're in is numerical.
Sure.
Or you can just put them in there alphabetically. You can put them in there in chronological order. It's however you want to set it up. One of the lists I made was, I think in 2023, I had watched almost every Paul Newman movie I could get my hands on.
Paul Newman is your second?
No, he's my favorite. He's my favorite.
First favorite actor, yes.
So I have seen almost every movie of his except for Hemingway's Adventures of a Young Man, I think is what it's called. But so anyways, I made a list called Newman's Own, named after his famed products.
I like that.
It was just me ranking every movie I've seen of his.
Okay.
And with that one, I was trying to kind of figure out, do I want to make it my favorite performances of his or my favorite movies of his, right? So I ended up doing the performances. The Verdict was number one.
Okay.
Sidney Lumet's incredible legal thriller from the set in Boston, but I want to say they filmed it in, I don't know, Atlanta. But another movie of his I love is The Color of Money.
Okay.
So I love playing pool, right? I like pool too. I love shooting pool.
Yeah.
I used to play with my friends playing pool all the time. And the movies that really got me in, or the stuff that really got me into it, was watching The Hustler and The Color of Money together.
Okay.
And I guess I didn't really appreciate The Color of Money as much because I'd just seen The Hustler and I thought that was fantastic. But now I look back and I'm like, yeah, that's a real great depiction. And it's the movie that won him his Oscar.
The Color of Money?
Yeah. He was
from
1986, directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Tom Cruise and Paul Newman.
Did he win Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor?
Won Best Actor.
Okay.
Yeah. It is his movie.
Gotcha.
I think I don't know if Cruise ever got nominated for it. I don't think he did. But Cruise probably would have been the supporting actor role.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's one of the lists I made. I made a list called My Voyage to Mr. Scorsese, and I watched all of his stuff. I didn't watch all of his documentaries. I watched a few of them, and actually the name that I gave that list was based on a documentary he made called My Voyage to Italy from 1999, which is over 4 hours long, and it's him going back and discovering the films of Italy. And he goes through all these famous directors. He talks about like Roberto Rossellini, who he ends up marrying Roberto Rossellini's daughter later in life.
Oh, really?
Isabella Rossellini.
Wait, Isabella Rossellini is married to Martin Scorsese?
They were. Not
anymore. They were.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, so I watched that. It's a great documentary, by the way. If you love like film history, stuff like that, he really has a great passion for breaking down the art.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that was really cool, and that was a fun exercise to kind of watch through. And yeah, like I consolidated that into a month of watching movies. He's obviously got some very long movies, especially later in his career. But I consolidated that into about a month, and then made my list. And that I didn't rank them. I just kind of made the list in order of what I watched. But my favorite projects that I've done is I would watch 70 movies from the 70s.
70 movies?
Yes. And I have 3 parts. I have 70 from the 70s, part 1, 2, and 3.
In how long or short of a time span would you watch these 70 movies?
It probably would take me about 2 months to get through.
That's
one of them.
That's still a lot of movies for 2 months.
Yeah, it certainly was.
So 70 movies in 2 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just depending. Now, of course, some of these movies were, maybe some of them were like an hour and 20 minutes long or something. So
okay,
they weren't like these really extensive movies. But I started that list in 2024.
Okay.
And I did 1 and 2 last year, and this year I did part 3.
Okay.
And I own all of those movies on DVD or Blu-ray, and I have enough to do part 4, of which I'm trying to make I'm trying to like touch it up a little bit to make it really like some really interesting ones, but
Sure.
I have found some great movies out of this.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, so that's 180 movies. 100? No, I'm sorry. It's 100 or 210 movies is what I watched.
Goodness.
For that list.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. I discovered a lot of different projects in those movies. One of my favorites being a film called Mikey and Nicky from 1976. Do you know this film?
No, never heard of it.
So it stars John Cassavetes and Peter Falk, and it's directed and written by Elaine May. And I don't know where this movie was my entire life. This movie is so good. And I was talking actually yesterday to a coworker about this movie, and he had never heard of it. And I was just like, you need to find it at some point. It's a great little buddy movie, but it's got that 70s grit to it, but it's got the Elaine May humor. Yeah, that was one that I found that I really liked. But yeah, so I really enjoy making these, like watching through these lists. I actually watched 70 from the 70s. I would pick 7 movies from each year. So 7 from 1970, 7 from 1971, 72, right? And I would watch them. I would watch them as I would watch one from 1970, and I would go each year and then start back at 1970 and then go each year. And that would inevitably get me to 70 movies.
Whoa, that is very impressive.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of dedication, I can imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I do watch movies very frequently. A lot of my downtime is watching movies.
Oh, okay. Understood.
I have my Letterboxd pulled up here right now, and it says I have watched 537 movies this year. Now, that is not including the 5 I have not posted yet.
That's more than a movie a day.
Yeah, it's
well more than a movie a day.
It's a lot, yeah. It kind of works out with how my schedule is with my girlfriend too, where my days off and her days off aren't always coinciding with each other.
Sure, yeah.
And then sometimes I get home late from work, or I'm up early, and then I get home a little bit earlier before her. So I'll put on a movie.
Sure.
Just to I like to put on movies to wind down. I like to put on movies just to sometimes do a list and curate what I'm watching. It just depends on whatever it is. But yeah, that's a lot of, I think this is the most movies I've watched in 1 year.
At the time of recording this, we still have a few weeks left in 2025. Mm-hmm. And forgive me if this has already come up in the discussion, but I don't think it has. unless I'm totally blanking. But what is your favorite film that you've seen in 2025, considering you've seen so many?
Yeah. I mean, I watched like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but that was a rewatch, right?
Right.
Of movies that I hadn't seen, they're new to me.
Yeah.
It feels like so long ago, but I went and took my girlfriend to go see The Brutalist at the very beginning of this year in January.
Right.
That's a really, really great movie that I still love so much. But that's probably off the top of my head my number one movie I've seen this year.
Okay.
I'm sure there's movies in there. I mean, there's movies that are really interesting I've seen, some really weird ones in there. It's kind of I'm sure if I dug through everything I've seen, I'd probably have a different answer. However, do you know what the first movie I saw this year was? Take a wild guess.
Is it something I've heard of before?
Most definitely. I'd be surprised if you haven't heard of it.
Wicked?
No. It's a Disney movie, actually.
A Disney movie?
Mm-hmm.
Animated?
No.
Oh. You're gonna have to give me the reveal.
It is the 2003 classic starring Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan, Freaky Friday.
Freaky Friday.
Yeah,
okay.
That was the first movie I've seen this year.
Did you like that movie?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
because I asked that because I watched Freakier Friday, which I only watched it because my family sat down to watch it, and I was like, okay,
sure,
I'll join them. It was actually very enjoyable.
That's what I've heard. I haven't seen it. I don't know why, because my girlfriend showed me Freaky Friday, which I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
I figured we would have gone to see Freakier Friday because she likes that movie so much. And it just slipped through the cracks and we haven't seen it yet.
Gotcha.
I'm sure we will watch it, though.
It's on Disney Plus. If you're looking for just a fun movie with, the opportunity to have some laughs and a good time, definitely recommend it.
Yeah. One of the other first movies I watched this year was probably one of the first 10 movies I saw was Nosferatu with you.
Oh, we watched that in January.
Mm-hmm. Early January.
Yeah.
And I had seen it the day after Christmas in 2025, and then I think
I saw it 2 days after Christmas in 2020. Yeah. 2024.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. And then in 2025, January, we met up to see it for what was for both of us our second viewing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a cool movie. I think the last movie Letterboxd says I watched in 2024, and there's no possibility for it being anything else because I watched it on New Year's Eve. I watched it late on New Year's Eve. Was my girlfriend and I went to go see A Complete Unknown
with Timothée Chalamet.
With Timothée Chalamet playing Bob Dylan, which I like that movie a lot. I worked at a record store for a good number of years, and I just learned about so much different music when I was younger. And Bob Dylan was one that I always actually liked a lot, and so this was the era of Dylan I liked too. So it was a cool movie.
I never had a desire to see that film for two reasons. Reason one, I will delve into more when John and I do our Dune review and breakdown, and Dune Part 2, which is the fact that I'm just not the biggest Timothée Chalamet fan. But also, I am not familiar with Bob Dylan really at all. To be quite honest, I just never listened to his music ever. So
yeah, the thing about A Complete Unknown is that it plays a lot of his music. There's a lot of his music in there, which I appreciate. And it's fun to just watch along, especially if you like the music. If you aren't a fan of him, it's not. It's a movie about Dylan.
Yeah.
I did just watch, though, a couple days ago, the Coen Brothers film Inside Llewyn Davis.
Okay.
Which
I've definitely heard of that film, and I've not seen it. An actor that I really like is in that movie. Is it Oscar Isaac?
It is Oscar Isaac who plays Llewyn Davis.
Yes, okay.
I've seen this movie before, so I think, what was it? What was the movie I watched? I can't remember. There was a Coen Brothers film I watched, and Oh, I'm sorry. It was A Serious Man, which is my second favorite Coen Brothers film.
You recommended that film to my brother, and
Yeah.
he went out and bought it and watched it.
Yes.
I think he liked it.
Yeah. That's my second favorite Coen Brothers film. And because I showed my girlfriend that one too, which she didn't connect as much with, I just think is so smart, so well written, very funny, very, very funny.
Yeah.
So then after that, like, every few weeks I would throw on a Coen Brothers movie that I, haven't seen in a while. And I wasn't watching like The Big Lebowski or Fargo or anything. I was kind of picking a little bit of a little bit more of the quieter movies that you don't hear said as much. So like the other one I watched was The Man Who Wasn't There from 2001.
Okay.
That's an excellent Coen Brothers film. So they have really cool stuff in between those big movies that they did, like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, and things like that.
I forgot Oh Brother, Where Art Thou was a Coen Brothers film.
Yeah.
Yeah, technically a quote unquote adaptation of the Odyssey, although I don't really get it, but that's how it's been marketed.
Yeah. But yeah, so I just been kind of watching through some of their movies and just kind of familiarizing myself with them, because they are one of my favorites. And I'm always excited to see whatever they might have, whether it's solo film work like they've been doing in the last few years. Which, funny enough, Joel Cohen made The Tragedy of Macbeth from 2021
with Denzel
and Frances McDormand, and that is one of my favorite movies of 2021 as well.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Now, of course, that was a COVID year, so you don't have an abundance of great work.
Yeah.
I do think that is a remarkable piece of work, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, I digress. I was watching Inside Llewyn Davis, and it is, and I'm sure I'm not the only person who has ever said this, but I wrote about it on Letterboxd. I said, pair this in a double feature with A Complete Unknown, because I think I was looking it up and I was trying to figure out if this was a true story, and it's not per se a true story, but it's based on a real guy from from Green Village, New York. And it's a real like folk singer, and he's the guy who really, I guess, didn't get famous when Dylan did. I guess it was the kind of thing where it was like, there's not enough room for the both of us.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I think it would be a really cool double feature to watch those two together, because they are stylistically pretty close. Inside Llewyn Davis is a little bit funnier, while at the same time also being a little bit bleaker. And A Complete Unknown is a little bit more of just a historical telling.
Okay. Interesting.
That, or you could watch I'm Not There, which is the Todd Haynes movie, where it's, I guess, Bob Dylan's story, but told through the factor of his mind, where he's different characters in his life. So yeah, there's a couple different stories that you could like pair with Inside Llewyn Davis.
Okay.
But yeah, I just rewatched that recently, and it was remarkable, and I think you should probably watch it at some point.
Okay.
But yeah,
Duly noted.
sorry, I know I keep going off about
these
movies.
I'm enjoying. I don't know if this is what the viewers were expecting when they clicked on this video, but I'm thoroughly enjoying using Letterboxd as a skeleton for this conversation to kind of follow along, a little bit of structure, but be like, this movie, and then this movie, and this actor, this director.
We get to talk about movies that we won't really get a chance to talk about in a grander scheme of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's fun.
Absolutely.
But we can go back to Letterboxd though.
Okay.
And we can I can explain why I think it's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
I like it because it gets my thoughts out of a movie. Whatever I'm thinking about a movie, I can write it down and put it on there, and it's kind of archived for me, right? Which just helps me remember whatever I watched and how I thought about it. And, I don't necessarily go back and reread my whatever I'm writing about them, but it just helps me for when I do need it. But what I love the most about Letterboxd is that it has become a community, essentially, right?
True.
There's a lot of film fans who use Letterboxd, and they all use it in their own ways, and I think it's really neat. But I at least this is how I see it. Whenever I go somewhere, and I'll talk about movies anywhere I go, right?
Sure.
Like, we met because we started working together, and
Right.
I just started talking about movies with you.
Mm-hmm.
I just started talking about movies, and so I'll go around, and wherever I'm working, I got I transferred recently and started chit chatting with people about movies, and there's like 10, 15 people I work with who have Letterboxd accounts.
Nice.
And
nice.
it feels like we're kind of in a little bit of a club of having that,
Yeah.
because we kind of have our own cool movie outlet that we get to go to. And we get to kind of be in here in Letterboxd and be part of a group of people who also feel, and we can all disagree on every single movie we watch.
Mhm.
We're still here kind of doing it, which is kind of fun. And I think it's important to kind of have that kind of communal idea with each other, right?
Sure.
Don't you think so?
Absolutely. And I mean, in fact, again, I went on Letterboxd in preparation for this video just to kind of go over what I've rated and said about some of the films that I've, watched. Again, I don't use it as often as I should. I hope to use it more now. But one of my favorite things to do during that preparation time was go through my friends' Letterboxd accounts, yours, a couple of others, and comparing, what did Nick say about this film as opposed to what Robert said about this film or what John said about this film, and then just kind of seeing like all the differing opinions and being like, oh, that's interesting. This person gave it 5 stars. This person gave it, 1 star. It's fun for me to just compare and try to just think like, oh, it makes sense that Nick would give this a 5, or it makes sense that Robert would give this a 1.
Yeah,
it kind of gives you an insight as to how your friends look at movies and what they're looking for in a movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool to really just be able to compare things, and it's not necessarily like a conversation platform, right? I wouldn't say that it's
Sure.
heavily used as something where people are interacting all the time with one another.
Sure. Can I ask this question real quick, actually?
Yeah.
Are you able to comment on someone's review?
Yeah. I get people commenting on my reviews every now and then.
Okay.
And sometimes it's commentary on what I'm saying.
Sure.
Right. Like when I wrote Wicked, some people weren't excited about when I wrote my review for Wicked, how I interpreted it. And so they're
part 1 or part 2?
Part 1.
Okay.
And so they commented on how, how I saw the movie and how they saw it. And then sometimes there's just people who, I think someone was asking me if it was if my name was actually what my name is on there, or if it was a reference to something. So you can kind of just comment, and I could comment back and interact with them. But that's not really the focus, I think. You can't like direct message someone.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, again, how this was always described to me when I first got it was, this is social media for people who love movies.
Sure. Yeah.
But you can do it in that sense where you can comment with each other. But you can't do that direct commentary.
Understood. Okay.
But yeah, so I don't really like comment back to anything, or I don't really comment on people's posts or anything. However, I do like reading other people's reviews a lot.
Yeah.
There's some really funny ones out there. And like a thing that my girlfriend and I would do every now and then is, after we watch a movie, we'll go on Letterboxd and start reading. You can read only your friends' comments, or you can read everybody's comments, and that's everybody who wrote something for the movie.
Okay.
And so I'll usually go on the one that has everybody, because it's rated by the most popular. The ones on top is the most liked review. And I'll just go through for a little bit and just read like the really funny, crude ones. And we have a really good laugh out of that. And it's actually really fun to do.
Nice.
And, like sometimes they make some of those references are we get a really good laugh because we just watched it, or sometimes it's just a wild opinion that's really funny to read. But then there's also people who just really put a lot of thought and insight into what they want to say about the movie.
Right.
And you get people on there who are, they could be real, like journalists, about movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's cool to have that mix and, see how people want to utilize the app itself. I think there's a number of famous names who actually have Letterboxd accounts too.
Really?
I remember when Martin Scorsese made an account.
Nice.
I must have seen it on another social media platform, but I remember within 10 minutes of that post that I had seen, I go on Letterboxd and he's got 100,000 followers.
Goodness gracious. Wow.
And he actually made the account and he seems to like it a lot. He doesn't interact. He's not interactive on it. He just makes a lot of lists. I think he made this right after Killers of the Flower Moon. Mm-hmm. So he made like some lists about what inspired him or what is kind of hand in hand with the movie that he made, which is fun. But yeah, he's on there. I know, I want to say Christopher McQuarrie is on there, who's the director of the Mission Impossible, the latter half of the Mission Impossible films.
Oh, yes, okay.
He also did The Usual Suspects and The Way of the Gun and a couple different movies here and there. One of the Jack Reacher films. Him and Tom Cruise are really close.
Okay.
They're really good creative partners together. But I think he's on there. I want to say Sean Baker's on there. Previously, just made Nora, and
oh yeah,
he wrote, directed, edited Nora. I think he's the only person to win 4 Oscars for a single movie. Right? Is that correct?
Oh, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Best Picture,
which he produced, so he got the Oscar for that.
Best Director, best. Was it original screenplay or adapted screenplay? Original screenplay. So that's 3 for him. I know it. I know it won Best Actress. Obviously, that did not go to him. But so what's the 4th?
Editor. He edited his own movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Very impressive.
So yeah, that's kind of a cool thing that he did. But I'm pretty sure he's got a Letterboxd account too. But yeah, like. There's a slew of different people on there. It's different celebrities and stuff, and so it's kind of fun to see what they say about like a random 1960s rom-com, just that's made. It's kind of cool to see that, and what some director who's making movies today says about that. Because you might not get the opportunity to hear that in an interview with them, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's entertaining too. So it seems like it's gotten pretty big. They have a breakdown in this thing if you're a patron member, where they have a stats thing that you can look at, and it's breaking down each year of your Letterboxd usage, or you can just do the stats of your entire account, right?
Now, being a patron member means that you pay to get rid of ads.
You pay to get rid of ads, and you're kind of just, I see it as just kind of like
supporting them.
Supporting it, yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can be a pro member, and there's different things you get access to on Letterboxd, like any real social media thing.
Sure.
But the stats thing is what I love about the patron part, because it really breaks down everything that I've watched. So it'll give me every actor, my top, the actors I have seen the most movies of, right?
Okay.
The directors I've seen the most movies of. It'll go through editors, writers, original writers, and then the people who wrote the screenplays and all that stuff. It goes through every genre and subgenre that I've seen and what's the most I've seen of those. It'll literally say, what do I rate higher than the average on Letterboxd versus what I rate lower than the average on Letterboxd.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then it also gives you like what film series have you finished, right? So I recently back when Ballerina came out, I watched all the John Wick movies.
Yeah.
And so on my stats section of Letterboxd, it said you just finished all the John Wick movies, right? It's really
Awesome.
the stats part really is cool, and then it'll even break down of like where you predominantly what movies you see from what countries. It'll give
Really?
you
Okay. In-depth stuff.
in-depth stuff. It
Yeah.
gives you a breakdown of your decades that you watch from and what your highest rated decades are. I bet you could probably guess what my most watched decade is.
70s?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
After all, I did watch 70
That's right.
from them 3 different times.
Sounds about right. Yep.
But yeah, and then like you can even change like Paul Newman is like my number 1 watched actor on there, right? And then you can switch it to who is your highest rated actor you've seen movies of. Which actor has been in the most movies that you rate the highest?
Sure.
And I mean that one's a little bit weird because when you click that, it's like, to me sometimes it's just a random like guy who's in all the Tarantino movies or background extra who's in all of the Scorsese movies. You know, it's a little bit really like tight nip on that, but it's still a really cool function of the whole app as a whole.
Pretty fantastic. Now, this is stuff you have to pay for.
Yeah,
right?
I think they only have it on the Patreon part, which probably took me a while to really get the Patreon. But I at one point I was just like, I use this app enough,
Sure.
and I really invest a lot of time into it that I'm like, I might as well, just because I spend so much time with the app.
Sure.
But yeah, that's a lot of fun stuff that you can get into with the app. Which, you know, if you wish to or not.
Yeah. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Nick, before we wrap things up?
No, I mean, this really was a lot of fun. It was, I know, a little bit more free flowing and, you know, a little less structured, but I really liked this. I really appreciate you having me on to just kind of talk about all these movies that you
I
and
had a
both
great
love.
time.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you, man. I appreciate
Absolutely. No, thank you for coming on to educate me on Letterboxd. I am excited to dive deeper into the platform, the app, join the community, and utilize it to its fullest.
it. Absolutely. And thank you again for having me on. This was a great conversation.
Absolutely. I look forward to more Saga Sessions with you, my friend. And to all of you who sat through this discussion, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you all for attending this Saga Session. We hope to see you again soon.